On 5 News, Kim Kardashian robbed at gunpoint. One of the world's most famous women loses millions of pounds worth of jewellery when up to 5 armed robbers broke into her luxury apartment in Paris. We're live at the scene. Also, help me find my son. The mother of a missing RAF serviceman makes a fresh appeal for information.
He's a good-looking lad at 3 o'clock in the morning, walking about in a pink shirt and white trousers. He is easily identifiable.
A strain of the Superbug, MRSA, is found in pork sold in 2 leading supermarkets. So, what's the threat to us? The Chancellor promises Brexit will happen, but issues fresh warnings over what it could cost you. And a very special BAFTA for the Monty Python star Terry Jones, who's battling dementia. Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. She is the world's most famous reality TV star, a household name who's spent years and earned millions in front of the cameras. Now, Kim Kardashian is recovering in private after an ordeal that saw 5 men tie her up and rob her at gunpoint in a Paris apartment. The thieves stole millions of pounds worth of jewellery before fleeing. Her spokeswoman says she's badly shaken but physically unharmed. From Paris, Minnie Stevenson reports.
Kim Kardashian at Paris Fashion Week just hours before the mum of 2 was robbed at gunpoint by a gang of masked men. The reality TV star often stays here at these luxury apartments. But at around 2:30 a.m. this morning, it's believed 5 men pretending to be police officers raided the apartment block. Now, the gunman went into the Parisian building behind me here and went through that door. It's thought they ordered the concierge to take them up to Kim Kardashian's room, where they held the celebrity at gunpoint, tying her up in the bathroom before leaving with millions of pounds worth of jewellery and fleeing, it's believed, on bicycles. And when her husband, Kanye West, heard the news halfway through his headline set at a festival in New York, he told hundreds of fans he was cutting his performance short.
I'm sorry, this is a family emergency. I have to stop the show.
A spokesperson for the star has said Kim Kardashian was left badly shaken, but physically unharmed. Today, a Paris-based journalist told me the police investigation into the armed robbery raises huge security questions.
Madonna, Leonardo DiCaprio, all kinds of very, very famous people have stayed there. Security will be taken very, very seriously, which leads us to wonder, how did anybody get in? As we can see, there's no sign of any forced entry. No door has been blown off or anything like that, which you might associate with a jewellery heist. So that's something the judicial police will be trying to work out.
Feel more empowered. Like, if you're not into what I'm posting, don't look.
The celebrity who first found fame as a reality TV star has faced some abuse online after the incident. But actress Salma Hayek was among those supporting Kim Kardashian today.
Important is that she's okay.
I'm surprised that it could happen in Paris.
Yeah, strange.
It's thought her 2 children were not with Kim when it happened. As one celebrity security guard told 5 News, robberies of this scale are rare.
I know she has a bodyguard, but, you know, people at this level of celebrity really need a security team that knows what they're doing, are going ahead, doing preparatory work, understanding what the risk is, managing that risk and preparing the team to meet that risk and mitigate that risk.
With the gunman still on the run, the star has now fled Paris on a private jet. One of the most famous women in the world will return home to the States, understandably shaken and without some of her most treasured possessions.
Minnie, an audacious attack. What's the latest on the investigation?
Hi, Sian. Well, given that we are in the centre of Paris in an incredibly busy area, this is a very audacious attack. I've been told that the gunman went through the door behind me here. How they managed to do that now is a key line of inquiry for the Parisian police. We've also got to remember that Kim Kardashian felt safe here. She'd stayed here before. She knew it well, including, most notably, ahead of the biggest day of her life, her wedding to Kanye West in 2014. Now, this will forever have traumatic memories for her, though. Tonight, 5 gunmen remain on the run in Paris.
Minnie, thank you. Well, straight after the show, Minnie will be live on our Facebook page with more from the scene in Paris. You can find that by searching for Channel 5 News. The mother of an RAF airman who's been missing for more than a week has pleaded for anyone with information to come forward. Corrie McKeague was last seen on a night out in Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk 9 days ago. Police say they don't believe he was kidnapped, and they've seized a bin lorry which they believe contains his mobile phone. Frankie McCamley reports.
Corrie McKeague hasn't been seen since last Saturday. CCTV footage shows Corrie's last known movements walking slowly along Brent Govell Street in Bury St Edmunds in the early hours of Saturday morning. It's thought he slept in a doorway before attempting to walk several miles home. 9 days later, during a police press conference, his family gave this appeal.
He's a good-looking lad at 3 o'clock in the morning walking about in a pink shirt and white trousers. He is easily identifiable.
His brother says he spoke to him the night he disappeared.
If you could have picked a happier conversation between me and him, that was it, because it was beyond good. It was just how we are with each other.
And it's this constant communication with his family which police say raises further concern for the RAF serviceman's safety. Police have released images of the exact clothing he's believed to have been wearing at the time of his disappearance: a pink Ralph Lauren polo shirt, white jeans and brown suede Timberland boots. Data tracking Mr McKeague's mobile phone shows it moved from Bury St Edmunds to Barton Mills, 10 miles away, which officers say match the route of a bin lorry that's now been seized. However, it's not thought Corrie was with the phone at the time. An RAF spokesperson has said they will not speculate on the case, but as police widen their search, the concern for Corrie's safety grows. Frankie McCamley, 5 News.
A girl who was abducted and raped by 2 men on her way to school in Oxford last week has given police descriptions of the suspects. The 14-year-old was snatched in Summertown on Wednesday morning. Detectives say one suspect was a white man in his 20s, about 6 feet tall and of medium build. The second was also white, in his late teens or early 20s and slightly smaller. Countries across the Caribbean are bracing for a hurricane that's set to bring winds of up to 150 miles an hour. Hurricane Matthew is expected to hit land later today. It's feared as much as 2 feet of rain could fall, causing devastating landslides. Traces of the superbug MRSA have been found in a number of pork products sold by Asda and Sainsbury's. Scientists tested a range of products and found 3 to be contaminated. Let's talk to our health correspondent Catherine Jones, who's with me now. Catherine, how worried should we be about this?
Well, MRSA in pork, it does sound scary, doesn't it? But don't worry, we're not talking about the strain here that kills people in hospital outbreaks. In fact, some countries, notably Denmark, already have a large number of their pigs with MRSA, and their pork products are contaminated. It's just until now the UK pig herd has escaped that. But now an investigation by the Guardian newspaper has found MRSA in UK pork, 3 out of 97 packs that they tested. Now that suggests MRSA is starting to circulate in the UK pig herd, and that's a worry because eventually a livestock worker could get it on them and then take it home to their family. It all starts to circulate in the community and eventually reach someone where it could do harm. So this is not a big food scare at this stage. It's a warning to the farming sector, basically. Asda have stressed that. They say they're working with their farmers to use antibiotics responsibly, because this is all to do with the overuse of antibiotics. Sainsbury's, meanwhile, stresses basic hygiene principles. So for the consumer, that's what we've got to do. Cook our meat well, wash our hands after eating it, the usual stuff.
Kathy, thanks very much. The Chancellor has been tearing up his predecessor's economic plans today. Instead of wiping out the deficit, Philip Hammond will borrow and spend more. He says it'll help Britain cope with the roller coaster of Brexit. He also talked about the need for border controls, but will that mean even more turbulence? Our political editor Andy Bell reports now from the Conservative conference in Birmingham.
Not so long ago, this would have been a photo opportunity for a different Prime Minister and a different Chancellor. But a lot has happened in 100 days, and that is why this Chancellor has now dumped the tax and spend plans of his predecessor.
The fiscal policies that George Osborne set out were the right ones for that time. But when times change, we must change with them. So we will no longer target a surplus at the end of this Parliament.
Yesterday, she made it clear getting full control of UK borders must be part of our exit from the EU. But was this her Chancellor signalling if we drive too hard a bargain, Britain could suffer?
The British people did not vote on June 23rd to become poorer or less secure. So our task is clear: repatriate our sovereignty, control our borders and seize the opportunities that the wider world has to offer, but do all of this while protecting our economy, our jobs and our living standard.
And many who voted Remain are worried.
I think there is an absolute risk that there are those in our party who have already accepted that somehow, in order to have control of our borders, that actually single market access can be thrown away. That's not an argument that I and many others accept. That's a case that we're making.
But you're losing that case at the moment, judging by what the Prime Minister said yesterday.
Well, look, we've got many months and years to go.
And on the other side, they're loving what they're hearing.
Somebody said to me yesterday, "Oh, Bernard, listen to Theresa May, you've won." Well, actually, we won on the 23rd of June. And some people don't seem to want to, or are taking some time to adjust to that very big change in public policy. But we are leaving the European Union, and they should make that very clear.
So what about that trade-off? Border controls or keeping trade with Europe?
We have to have proper control of the borders, that's a priority.
Even if it means the country's a bit poorer?
Well, I think the country would be a bit richer if we had proper control of the borders.
I've never had a decision that comes to either or, and particularly when it comes to a nation of 60 million people.
They do want control of the borders, so...
that comes first?
That probably does come first.
The government says it can deliver both. In other words, a Brexit that works for everyone.
But a Brexit, Andy, that the Chancellor says will be a rollercoaster and cause turbulence. How concerned do you think he is about it?
Well, I think the evidence is there in that central decision today, formally confirmed by Philip Hammond, that he's dumping that target to eliminate the deficit by 2020. George Osborne, when we came to these conferences, he would always have a target to eliminate, to wipe out the deficit, the difference between what the government spends and what it earns in taxation. He would always have a target date. The last one he had was he wanted to do it by 2020. That was the last one he had before he was removed. Now, Philip Hammond has said that's gone, and it's gone simply because he now judges the much bigger threat to the economy and therefore to people's living standards is the turbulence, as he put it, the uncertainty caused by the Brexit vote. Therefore, it's much more important, as far as he's concerned, that we don't go driving along trying to reduce spending, for instance, to try and hit that target that George Osborne had, because it's much more important right now, in his view, to support the economy from what could be a very difficult period.
Andy, thank you. Still to come on the programme, how more and more of us could need one of these in the future, and an emotional night for Monty Python star Terry Jones. Find out why after the break. Hello and welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Over the past few days, we've seen how the bombing campaign on the Syrian city of Aleppo has intensified. Today, we've got a harrowing insight into life for people living and working there. Families whose loved ones are being killed in airstrikes. Doctors who are being deliberately targeted as they try to save lives. And the heart-wrenching account of a 7-year-old girl keeping a diary as the bombs fall around her. Just a warning, you might find some of the images in Dominic Reynolds' report upsetting.
Good morning from Aleppo, we are still alive.
Good morning from Aleppo, we are still alive. That's today's simple update from Bana Alabed, the 7-year-old tweeting from perhaps the most dangerous place on earth. Over the past week, her pictures from eastern Aleppo were of the destruction around her and of her brothers. But other families have been less lucky. These 2 brothers said to be weeping for a third killed in an airstrike. That video and this one posted by opposition forces to show the world who is suffering as government and Russian forces bombard eastern Aleppo from above. Russian planes are said to be using so-called bunker-busting weapons. An opposition spokesman said these new missiles destroy everything.
Nothing inside these areas, no any place is safe because of these new muscles which the Russian airstrikes use it. These muscles and destroy everything. So, including the people who stay underground, they are not safe.
The rebels holding on to eastern Aleppo say those missiles have killed 650 civilians in a week. The 1,000 injured are left to hospitals like this. In Britain, Surgeon David Knott has been assisting in eastern Aleppo by phone. This week, his colleague there became one of the last surgeons left.
He's tired, he's worn out, he's depressed, he can't function anymore. He's been up for 48 hours all the time. There are bombs dropping all the time, so they can hear things constantly all the time.
It's hard to imagine a place worse than this, but there are 250,000 people trying to live in it. As the world's most powerful nations fail to find a way forward, the people of eastern Aleppo are powerless. Dominic Reynolds, 5 News.
There are 2 million people in Britain living with sight loss, but that number is expected to double over the next generation, and diabetes will be one of the biggest causes. That's the warning from a guide dogs charity today, which says many people don't realise the condition can lead to vision impairment. Well, Olivia Kinsley has met one man whose sight loss happened almost overnight.
Mark has not always relied on his guide dog Crazy. As a young man, he could see and worked as a nurse.
Please.
He admits that in his busy life he wasn't managing his diabetes.
Working shift patterns and running my blood sugars high to try and get through my shifts. I woke up one morning to go to work and couldn't focus on the picture, it was all blurry. I panicked. What am I going to do? How am I going to go to work?
Now he can only see shapes and needs Crazy to alert him to hazards.
Cars parked on pavements, bin day when the bins are left in the middle of the paths.
How prepared do you think we are as a country to have more people with visual impairment?
Not very, because we're still getting guide dog refusals in shops and places.
Like Mark, more than 4 million people in the UK are living with diabetes, and that number's growing. Going blind is more likely if the condition is poorly managed.
I think it's a real wake-up call for people to think about the lifestyle and health choices that they make on a daily basis. And it's easy just to grab the easiest thing off the shelf that's full of sugar and fat and not think about what's actually in there, and think about exercise and looking after yourself for the long-term future.
Mark lived for the moment and paid the price.
And I thought that my diabetes, it won't affect this, it won't affect that. And it does affect. Go out partying, drinking, everything else. And it will catch up with you in time.
It did with Mark and changed the rest of his life. Olivia Kinsley, 5 News.
The man who's been given the task of managing England for the next 4 games at least says he's the best to lead the team through its moment of crisis. Gareth Southgate was made temporary boss after Sam Allardyce quit in controversial circumstances. He says the allegations that surround football recently don't do the sport any favours.
I have to say that I'm involved in a sport that I love and an industry that at times I don't like. And really outside of that, the detail of what happened last week I'm not too au fait with, because I genuinely was locked away.
And thousands of people in Spain have attended one of the more unusual competitions to build the biggest and most complex human tower. The tradition, involving people balancing precariously on each other's shoulders, dates back 3 centuries. The Monty Python star Terry Jones has collected a Lifetime Achievement Award during his first public appearance since he announced he has dementia. The 74-year-old comedian was at the Welsh BAFTAs and was introduced by his friend of half a century, Michael Palin. Sam Naz reports.
I couldn't be happier. The recipient of the 2016 BAFTA Award for his outstanding contribution to film and television is Terry Jones.
A standing ovation befitting of a TV and film icon. This was BAFTA Cymru's way of showing its appreciation for Terry Jones, who was making his first public appearance since announcing he has dementia. Overwhelmed by the occasion, the star's tearful son accepted the award, calling it a great honour.
We'd just like to say thank you for everyone. I know it's a great honour for Dad to win this award, and just struggles we're having at the moment. It's a bit hard, but we're so proud of him. Thank you.
Nobody expects the Spanish...
With a career spanning more than 5 decades, Terry Jones's role as a member of the Monty Python comedy troupe remains his most popular.
Now you listen here. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Also a celebrated director, presenter, writer and historian, it was only a matter of time before one of Wales's most famous sons came home to receive one of its biggest honours. Sam Naz, 5 News.
Now, before we go, Matt's joined us to tell us what's coming up on 5 News tonight. Hello.
Hi, Sean. Yeah, we'll be discussing the future of boxing after the tragic death of a fighter on Friday. Some campaigners are now saying that Mike Towell's death is proof the sport is unsafe, and they think it should be banned. I'll be talking about the safety issues with a boxing coach and a head injuries expert as well. Let us know what you think on Facebook or on Twitter. Should boxing be banned? That's at 6:30.
Look forward to it. Thank you very much, Matt. That is it for now, though. Sian Welby has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Matt's back at 6:30. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.